everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cop Blast Podcast with your hosts, Matt Taylor of Carbon County Cop Block. You've got Rick Gonzalez of Allentown Cop Block and Scott Marshall of Oath Accountability and Carbon County Cop Block. How you guys doing this tonight?
Welcome.
Doing good, doing pretty good. Can't complain.
So it's another lovely Monday night. We got another hour and a half of awesome content. Why don't we start this week's episode off with asking, you guys had any interactions with the police this week?
You know what? I'll start off, and I hadn't even thought about it, but I think I'm gonna play a video for you guys, a quick video of a. I got pulled over this weekend, and yeah, I got pulled over this weekend, and it was actually pretty odd.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear why.
Yeah, basically when I got pulled over, so when I got pulled over, I went to go record and I had an issue with my phone, so I didn't get the initial contact, but he basically accused me of running a red light. Now, the officer is sitting there at the light that I supposedly ran the red light through that was yellow the entire time I saw it.
Now, this happened here in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, Pennsylvania, and it was a town called Tamaqua. I had never been there before, and it was just it just struck me as odd that this officer would pull me over, even though I know for a fact that I didn't run that light. Now, I've got the video right here. Let me go full screen share. We're gonna share screen one over here, and I'll play it for you.
All right, Mike, everything came back good.
All right.
Just be careful going through them lights like that. If somebody else is doing the same thing as you or trying to anticipate the light, you can have an accident.
Well, I'm not from this area, and to me, the light was yellow. So,
Well, I was stopped right there looking.
I know, and I saw you. I'm not going to run a red light in front of an officer. I'm not an idiot.
I'm not going to sit there and argue with you. You punched it to get through the red light.
I did not.
That's fine.
I'm not. Okay, well, I appreciate that.
All right. Careful.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Now, to me, that seemed a little abrupt.
I got a question for you before you get into that. Now, you have yourself a dash camera, right?
Yes.
Do you think that he saw that dash camera and then questioned himself on if maybe you did or didn't run that red light?
It's possible, but I don't really think so. My dash camera almost looks like a GPS unit, unless if you really looked at it, you wouldn't recognize that that's what it is.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, I mean, to me, that was really abrupt, and I think it may have had to do with the Cop Block shirt that I was wearing and the sticker on the window, and maybe there might have been a note in my file that said, "This guy doesn't fuck around." I don't know. But, I mean, he when he walked up, he said, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And he said, and I said, "No." And he said, he said, "You ran the red light back there." I said, "Officer, I did not run the red light. That light was yellow the entire time." And it was just, he asked me, "Have you ever been ticketed before?" And I said, "No. Can't you just look that up in your system?" And is what he said. He goes, "Well, okay," and then turns around and walks back to his car. Like he had struck off guard that I would say, "Can't you just look that up?" I mean, I don't understand why he's asking me that question. Like, I guess he wants to see if I'm gonna comply, if I'm gonna answer questions for him or not. So
yourself.
yeah. So I mean, I just said, look it up yourself, man.
So, that's not the first time that you've had an interaction with an officer, and I kind of like the way that you do this. Instead of, not answering questions, which you don't do anyways, but instead of just saying, I don't answer questions, you just fire questions back at them. Because I think that puts them more off of their square than just saying, I don't answer questions. You just fire back relevant questions to them, and they don't know how to respond. They're so not used to having themselves questioned that they don't know how to handle that situation.
And you know what? My favorite tactic, and you know what? I don't know if I've seen this tactic used too much, but when a cop starts asking you questions, especially like, do you have a warrant, and saying stuff like, like, how do I know? That's my favorite time to fire back. Do you have a warrant? Well, how do I
Yeah.
know you don't have a warrant? And then it turns everything into a fucking cartoon, and it really puts a highlight on how ridiculous the situation is.
Yeah.
So I mean, the whole things can be bananas sometimes.
This shit is bananas. Sorry. Um, so, well, you know what? At the end of the day, you handled yourself well. I know you had a few technical issues that were reported. You tried to use Cell 411 and put out a what is it? Notice to everybody that you had been pulled over, and the app crashed. It was an unfortunate event. I don't know if it was just a one-off or something, but
Well, I had a lot of apps open, and it's a new phone, so I mean, I probably didn't have the settings set up right or something. But you know, technical things happen, and I don't blame the app.
yeah,
Um,
no,
because you know I was fumbling around. If it was my old phone, I would have been right on it, but I didn't have the app on the home screen, and then I was frustrated and trying to be quick because you know you're getting pulled over. What can you do? You know, lock the doors, roll up the windows. And I mean, even I had in the video, I only had the window cracked this much, and in most states, you know, some states you don't even have to roll the window down at all. And I believe in that case, I really didn't have to roll the window down. All I had to do was put my information up against the window with my little fair DUI flyer, and then he would have put my ticket if he would have given me a ticket under the windshield. But I feel like in this case, maybe going that far would have pushed him to give me a ticket,
I agree.
which you know I don't fear the ticket, but um,
Mhm.
it still ended up working out in my favor in the end. So it's a toss up. Like, um, you know, and I just like to throw that video out there because it's just kind of odd. And you hear him kind of pause for a second in the video. He's kind of sounds like he's caught off guard. It's because he looked in my lap and saw my phone pointed at him.
Yeah,
So I mean, that's really what threw him off.
yeah. So, seeing the cop block, having the question fired right back at him, seeing the phone, I think you're right. I think he was kind of pulled, a little off his square and didn't exactly know how to handle the situation, and just maybe even there was that note in the file and just kind of went, I don't really feel like dealing with this.
I mean, maybe he's familiar with the site and he saw it and was like, I'm not becoming an article.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still gonna talk about you because it happened. And another thing that I wanted to talk about is I got a letter from my lawyer. Now, as you guys know, me, Rick, and Severin Freeman from Lehigh Valley Cop Block, we all had a trespassing charge, which we got off of. Now our lawyers have turned around and they sent us this message here, and it's addressed to the arresting officer,
That was
dear
Whitman, right?
Waltman.
Waltman.
Dear
Yeah.
Corporal Waltman, as you know, I represent Severin Johnson, Ricardo Gonzalez, and Michael Scott Marshall. I am writing to inform you that Mr. Johnson, Mr. Gonzalez, and Mr. Marshall intend to bring a federal lawsuit against you for various constitutional violations. Those violations initially occurred on October 16, 2015. Some of the violations continued until March 1st, 2016. Um, and you know it goes on there, but you know our lawsuit is in motion. It's pretty important because they violated journalists' rights, and normally in a case like this, these kind of details wouldn't normally be publicly available. but because we are journalists and this is we were arrested like in the process of filming the police. So when we have an issue that with the police, um, it's our lawyers said that it's more important for the story to get out for you know for the cause.
Right.
So normally things like this would be hush hush, and I'm not bragging in any way. I just want to clarify. Steps are moving forward, and we're going to hold these guys accountable. So that's what the Oath Accountability Project is really about, is trying to hold accountability. And I know a lot of the cop block movement kind of has said that they don't want accountability, or at least as a long term solution. Accountability. I I want to say it's a good short term. Accountability is a good short term solution, but long term, we should really focus on abolition. And I'm inclined to agree to an extent.
To an extent, I don't know about total absolution, but I think absolution of the current, uh, you know, rhetoric of the way that they operate under, yes. I just think the whole system needs an absolute overhaul, and that's just not pertaining to just police. I think the system in general, from the ground up all the way up to the way the presidency works, needs an overhaul. But that's a different topic for a different time. Um, Rick, how about you? Did you or you know what, Scott, you didn't get to read that letter, did you?
Well, I read a good the first paragraph. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, finish it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you have enough out there, Rick.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you have any run-ins with the police this week?
Nah, not really. Saw a traffic stop, filmed it. Cop tried to say his video was better than mine, but but I get more views, so so I kind of like shrugged it off.
Did you ask him for a copy?
Oh, I should have. I didn't think of that, but I should have asked him some more questions. But I asked him, did they come out with the body cams yet? Because when he said my video is better than yours, he took something off the clip of his uniform, and he went like this. My video is better than yours, and like he put it somewhere else. So I asked him about the body cams, and he didn't respond.
Eh,
and then
who knows what they're doing?
And then I didn't have a really decent interaction with cops, but I did have one. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, about 2 days ago. I was outside letting my dog out, go take a piss, and I live right by a bank. And we have people who overnight park in the bank just because Sunday, or Saturday into Sunday. Sundays they're not open, so they don't care if anybody's parked there. Complete permission from the bank itself. So I'm out there, and sure enough, one of the people who live in my building, I see a cop walking around their car. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have my phone on me at this point, just because I was just going outside in the middle of the night to take my dog out, like I said. And I'm
Now,
like,
did you
yo,
learn your lesson?
yes, I learned that lesson. I guess even at 2 o'clock in the morning, walking out in my backyard, I still should have my phone because there could be a cop lurking. So I said to him like, "Hey bud, what are you doing?" Because I really didn't at first see his car. He had parked right around the corner, and he was just standing up behind the car. I'm like, "Bud, what are you doing?" And he pops up. He's like, "My job." I said, "Well, what job is that?" I said, is it to check on people's cars when they're just parked in parking lots?" He goes, "Well, this is a private parking lot." I said, "Well, how do you know if these people don't have permission to park here?" He goes, "Well, I don't." I said, "Well, then at that point, what are you actually doing?" He goes, "Well, this is a private parking lot and they shouldn't be parked here." I said, "Well, I'm going to revert back to the same question I just asked you. What are you doing? You don't know if they have permission or not." I said, "So until you know that they don't have permission, anything you do here just seems like you're trying to extort some money." And he goes, well, I'm going to be calling a tow truck. I said, well, I guarantee you each one of these cars will be out of this lot before a tow truck gets here. I said, so don't waste your time. He goes, well, what are you going to, he goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to walk my dog back inside. I'm going to knock on both my neighbors' doors and I'm going to have them move their cars. I said, if you have a problem beyond that with them in a different parking spot, I said, then I know you're just trying to extort money. And he kind of just stopped and turned, hit his radio for a second and then got back in his car and drove away. So I'm kind of bummed that I didn't have my phone on me because I think the second I put my phone up, he probably would have had an issue. But at the same time, I wasn't really trying to get too mouthy with him, and not because of the fact of not trying to cause an issue, but I have a 65-pound pit bull, and I wasn't trying to get my dog shot. So, because my dog is the nicest dog I've ever seen, but at the end of the day, an officer will shoot a freaking cat with a shotgun in this area if they feel threatened, and even him just wanting to come up and smell him is probably going to scare the officer, and I probably would have lost my dog. So I was trying to make it as quick as possible, but still get my point across that what he was doing was wrong. So that was my interaction.
Never leave home without your phone, man.
Man, I technically didn't leave home. I was in my backyard. I was like, you know what? Facebook updates can be damned. I can wait for 45 seconds. I'm going to be outside.
Yeah, I've always taken the time to invest in, car chargers and battery packs, and even at this point I have 2 cell phones. I'm about to get well, actually I'm not going to say that on air. Coming up soon, I'm getting some really, really cool new equipment that I'm going to use, and I'm going to have some awesome new videos on the site, so or on the YouTube. So look forward to that, because I'm really excited about that. I'm not gonna say what it is yet, but
just in case you pesky porkers are watching, we'd like to catch you with it, as opposed to have you ready.
Yeah. Oh no! Hold on. Whoa. It's video equipment. Just so it's video equipment.
Yeah.
So it's new, it's high tech, and it's gonna be really cool. So look forward to that.
Awesome.
Well, I just got something from Retro. Thank you for the heads up about my audio. So I'm gonna kick it over to Scott. We're gonna jump into our first story here. Scott, this one's actually your baby. You wrote this one. So why don't you inform everybody what it is?
Let's see. The I'm sorry. I was reading Retro's thing. What we're going into the first story here?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a story that I came across. This is a story on copblock.org. It's written by a Scott Marshall. Seems like a pretty good guy.
Yeah, he seems all right.
Writes a decent article. Nothing too bad. But anyways, this is a story from Freehold, New Jersey, and actually also Neptune is somehow. I think it was a Neptune officer, but he lived in Freehold. So this is a Freehold, New Jersey officer. 9 children are without a mother, and their father's in prison. Veteran New Jersey cop Philip Seidel admits to chasing his ex-wife's car in his SUV with their 7-year-old daughter in the back seat. He ran her off the road and disabled her car in a park by crashing into it. Philip fired into her car 12 times at point-blank range through the driver's side door, killing her. Now, this was with his service his service his service weapon.
Wow.
And he killed her. He then engaged in a suicidal standoff with the police while he sent text messages to his children informing them of the murder, saying, "Your mother is dead because of her actions." And he also sent a message to one of his colleagues saying, I was tired of let's see, her name was I'm not seeing it here. But yeah,
I was looking for it too. I don't see it, unfortunately.
maybe it got edited out. Anyhow, saying that she's dead. I'm tired of her shit. Basically, is what happened is the officer was upset that his ex-wife had moved another man in the home with his children. He pleaded guilty to aggravated manslaughter and endangering the welfare of a child. Prosecutors are hoping for a sentence of at least 80 years. The kicker, his 9 children are suing various police departments, stating that their father's history of domestic violence should have prevented him from having a badge and a gun.
Ooh. So this guy had a history of domestic violence, and the police department knew about it?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, police officers have a disgustingly high amount of domestic violence attached to their profession. It's, you know, I don't have the statistics sitting in front of me, but it's
actually
what,
it's
double?
it's here in the article. Actually, the article goes on to read: not often does domestic violence have a dramatic impact on, or not often does domestic violence have a dramatic impact on the eligibility of officers for service. In recent years, studies have shown that police officers engage in domestic violence at more than 4 times the national average of other occupations. There is such an issue that the popular website for Leos, police1.com, has several articles on the subject, including domestic violence in police families, causes, effects, and intervention strategies.
So basically, at the end of the day, that study alone, and I'm sure it's not just a one-off study. This is something that, has been hit on several different times from several different research groups. But if it's a problem that is well known, then I don't see why people who have a history of domestic violence should be allowed on the force. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a history of violence, and you then want to arm this person and give them the ability to irrationally react to people on the streets? They can't even react responsibly at home.
I mean, the article goes on to say the situation is somewhat troubling when you think about what some officers would do to people they love and care about. What would they do to you, a stranger? Daily ego strokes coupled with delusions of grandeur and a lack of accountability have the propensity to create a situation where an officer could become unstable and lash out in a violent and unpredictable manner. In this case, the officer was charged and convicted. In many others, justice does not prevail. Friends don't let friends date cops.
Absolutely.
Now, in the article, I'll go ahead and I'll play this video here. Let me just do a screen share here.
While he's doing that retro, did my audio get any better?
And the stories in the showcase notes. So those of you that want to check it out.
Oh, gotta raise the volume. Give me a second here. Sorry, guys. And we'll go back.
Seidel pleaded guilty. He seemed anxious to badmouth the victim. CBS 2's Tony Aiello was in court for today's developments and has this new information.
If the prosecution has its way, Philip Seidel will either die in prison or be almost 80 years old before he walks free. The longtime Neptune, New Jersey cop chased his ex-wife's car into Asbury Park last June with his SUV. Tamara Seidel crashed. Her ex approached and fired 12 times, killing the mother of their 9 children. Thursday, the prosecutor agreed to a lesser charge of aggravated manslaughter in order to spare the children from testifying, a move supported by the oldest Seidel child.
To avoid further trauma to our family, we have thoughtfully accepted this guilty plea. My family and I will not be answering any questions.
In court, her father had a lot to say, hinting he was driven to act because he was outraged his wife's new boyfriend had moved in.
She condemned me to my children for 3.5 years for being with someone else, and then I never even introduced my kids to my lady, and now she moves this guy in and basically replaces me with him, makes him their father.
Okay.
You know,
And
she
that was
goes
the
and she commits adultery.
During a standoff with police after the shooting, Seidel texted a friend, quote, "I got tired of Tamara's blank and shot her."
This is hands down one of the ugliest cases that we have seen.
Prosecutor Christopher Gramaccioni called the victim a great loving light and said at sentencing he will refute the ugly comments from the killer. Seidel testified he was with his youngest the day of the shooting by her address for a daddy-daughter dance. The 9 children are suing various Monmouth County agencies, claiming given a history of domestic disputes, Seidel shouldn't have been a cop and shouldn't have had a gun. In Freehold, New Jersey, Tony Aiello, CBS 2 News.
Wow. So, I mean, I understand the fact that they kind of want to get this done with and accept that plea, but the fact that a plea was even given for aggravated voluntary manslaughter is pretty ridiculous. I mean, that right there, he's standing in front of everybody and just tells a story of premeditation. He tells a story of premeditation. That is murder 1. To drop it to involuntary manslaughter is ridiculous. That's still maybe murder 2, maybe murder 3 if you really want to go there, but involuntary manslaughter, aggravated involuntary manslaughter, is pretty ridiculous. You know, I don't think this man should have the ability to ever get out. I know that they're trying to keep him in for the remainder of his life, or if he gets out, he's going to be ancient. But at that point, just keep him in. Just keep him in. You know, they should be going for letters, not numbers. I'm sorry, that's my personal opinion, but you know, any other person on the street, they do this, they do what this man did, and yeah, they're going to be in a courtroom the same way, but they're not going to be getting some hand-me-down plea deal that could still let them see freedom at some point. And you know, it bothers me so much when cops have an issue, you know, something like this, then they do it and they get a reduced sentence. You know, you would think that because of the position that they are in and the oaths that they take and the responsibility of which they have placed upon them, that when they turn around and they break the law, I think their punishment should be worse, because it is so much more egregious when somebody who you've turned around and charged with the protection of people turns around and does such a heinous crime.
Yeah, I think that they have a much more of a moral responsibility. I mean, they have a higher obligation to uphold the law. I mean, to me, it's just it's insane that we would give cops breaks. I mean, it's like the opposite. Like anything that you think that the government should do, it does the opposite. I don't understand at this point. The government should make our roads awesome. I pay enough money. My roads suck. The government, if the DEA wants to do what the DEA says the DEA is going to do, then the DEA should stop importing drugs and doing all that shit that it's been caught doing several times. If the FBI is going to fucking stop terrorism, then they need to stop creating terrorism plots for themselves to foil. I mean,
I agree.
I mean, if the EPA is going to stop the environment from getting polluted, then they're going to have to stop busting open old mines and polluting rivers. I mean, the government, these agencies do the opposite of what they say that they're there to do, and it's insane to me. Like,
well, you've heard my my opinion. You've heard Scott's opinion. Rick, you want to weigh in on this?
I think they should just fucking give him the chair. That's what I think.
I personally
give his ass the chair. Where did this happen at?
Jersey.
Jersey? Shit.
I don't know. I personally don't agree with the death sentence. I don't think that our government in any aspect should ever have the ability to turn around and be able to say, yeah, we're going to take this person's life. Justice really isn't eye for an eye. It really isn't. And also, I think that's giving them the easy way out. You say, okay, yeah, well, they lose their life, but I would much rather, if somebody did something to somebody that I love, I don't think that they should sit in a cage for 2 years and then 2, 3, 4, 5 years and then be put out of their misery. I think they should sit there for the rest of their damn life and have to think about it every single day when they wake up in that small ass little box that they're in.
Yeah, because they have to think about the reason why they are in the box, and the reason why they're in the box is a terrible, terrible, awful, awful, terrible thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
and to alleviate them of having to do that for decades is just, I think it's a cop out.
it is.
I don't think justice gets served there. I think it's honestly just there's no justice in it. Yes, okay, it does give closure to the family, going, okay, yeah, you know what, they took my family member. It's
And
almost,
yes, it is cheaper for the state. I'll admit that it's cheaper
But-
for the state.
but it's almost like the state is giving it's an archaic practice. It's the state giving the family legal revenge, and revenge does not solve shit. So when you sit there and you put them out of their misery so quickly, yeah, you get that instant gratification of, yeah, this person's no longer alive. But I think personally, I'd feel better knowing that this motherfucker's never gonna get out, but have to sit in a box every single day and live in an environment that they'll never be comfortable in. I think it would be better to leave them to sit and rot. But that's my personal opinion, and that's something that's always going to be up for debate, and is constantly up for debate all over the country, and quite frankly, all over parts of the world. So, everybody's going to have their own opinion on, on that. So, well, why don't we go ahead and why don't we jump into our second story today? It comes out of Cape Coral. It was written by Ademo Freeman of copblock.org. And there is going to be a video for this, so if one of you wants to pull it up while I kind of give an idea of what's going on here. But it's about a Cape Coral police lieutenant. They were contacted. The source about the matter says that he was glad the video surfaced. The cop is not losing his job or being suspended as of now. He is just off the streets till the investigation's over. Now this comes from a Facebook video where you see an unknown Cape Coral officer slamming a woman on the ground. At the start of the video, it appears that the man has taken possession of the unknown woman, and taken possessions of the unknown woman, and she wants it back. Then the video, when the video was first sent to Cop Block, basically it looked like they were watching a woman just getting knocked the hell out. So why don't we watch this? It's about a minute and a half long, and we'll come back to it and get our reactions.
Take a taxi home and that's it. Don't get the cops involved.
I'm videotaping.
Somebody help me out.
You're good, man. I'm videotaping this.
Somebody help me out.
Good? Hey, Matt, good?
Stop.
Hey, bro.
You're
good.
You're fucked up.
Yeah, you're good. I'm just videotaping this because it's
Is
funny.
anybody bold enough? Stop. Hey, you need a taxi home. That's it. Hey, go. Get out of the way. You need a taxi home. That's it.
And see, at this point, it is kind of funny. I do agree with him.
Yeah.
Stop.
And now it's not.
Stop.
Oh, and now it's
Oh!
not funny at all. Now let's back that up. Let's back that up a little bit because that was.
Okay, stop. So, okay, you have two civilians going at it. You don't know what the situation is, and your first reaction is, let's sneak up behind a woman who probably doesn't know that we're there and just slam her to the ground.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's exactly what they did. Look,
you're a fucking great service to the community.
just watch.
Stop.
Blam.
She bounces and rolls. He didn't just lightly toss her, he flung her.
Simple. Stop.
Just listen to it.
Stop.
Now let's take a look here. How much you think that cop weighs and his height?
At least twice her weight.
Yeah, so she's easily gonna get tossed.
And she's not a small woman, but he is definitely not a small guy.
And the sad thing is, he's a lieutenant.
There he is. Let's see now. Which one of it does it? Oh, it's definitely him. Oh.
Yeah, you know what? He grabs her by her arms too, so she really doesn't.
Looks like he tripped her. It looked like he tripped her.
He grabbed her by her arms, tripped her, so she didn't have any way to brace herself from this fall. I want you to watch her head. Okay, so now her whole body's down. She's got no way to brace her head. Her head bounces off the concrete right here when she press play.
Ooh, and like the whole side of her head, temple.
Yep. Now, Bunny Boots commented, he says, I remember watching that the other day. The use of force was way too much. The fact that they tried to play it off as her faking it shows that they knew they were screwed. So that kind of gave a little spoiler alert for what was coming up here. Sorry about that, but just listen to the conversation that then happens from here on out.
Uncalled for, sir. Uncalled for.
She said, "Get her up." She's sitting there faking.
She's faking it. Yeah. That turns around and he's like, shit.
No, dude.
No, that chick. That chick's out.
Put her on there, embarrass her like that.
Oh, you're gonna embarrass her like that?
Really?
Hold on, I slammed her on the ground, but you're the one that's gonna embarrass her.
Yeah. No. Wow. He's lucky he had just some random bystander recording it, not one of us who actually knows some shit, because we would have walked right the fuck up to him and been like, all right, name, badge number
right now.
Precinct, commanding officer, because I'm tacking your ass to the wall. I want him here right now.
He's lucky he didn't do that shit in front of me. I would have been on his fuck. I would have actually fucking tried to have him arrested for assault. Because that's just plain, that's a plain assault right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I said that was uncalled for.
Pause it real quick.
Well, yeah. Thanks to that civilian.
White t-shirt, hands off to you. I hope you see this one day. Hands off to you, white t-shirt.
Yeah, man, because I mean, I understand why girlfriend comes up and is like, yo, calm down, because they just slammed some woman who wasn't even expecting it. What the hell are they going to do to somebody who's questioning them? So I understand why she was like, yo, back up. But at the same time, hat off to him, just being like, you wear a badge, you don't slam women. I fully agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
I tried.
He threatens him with arrest.
I'm videotaping for nobody's benefit.
I didn't do nothing wrong. Come on. I tried. You don't know any of those. How many times did I say?
Nobody.
Damn.
That's a fucked up video. I mean, so it sounds like the dude that she was fighting was initially had her car keys, and that's what she wanted back. Because she says, you have my keys. So that's what she wanted back. Sounds like she just wanted to leave. And she was, anybody who's holding your possessions, especially, the way to operate your vehicle to get the hell out of there, it's going to aggravate you a bit.
No, hold on. Let's back that up.
I'm sorry. I'm being rational.
She was intoxicated. That was obvious to me that she was intoxicated. Now, I don't blame the other guy for not giving her keys, because if he did allow her to drive and she killed somebody, guess who is then culpable?
Correct. So I understand that. I understand that point, and
it's kind of a double-edged sword, because at one end it's theft, but on the other side it's culpability. So
I really hate to use cop rhetoric here. Like it's honestly it's grinding into my temple that I'm gonna say this, but we don't know what happened before the video. If she was drunk, if that's just the way that she talks, if that's somebody that she went to the bar with, or if that's just her psycho ex, we don't know that kind of stuff either. But at the end of the day, that is not what's in question here. What's in question here is how that was handled. It's not even in question here. It's actually more of, officer, you fucked way the hell up. Because at your size, all you had to do was come up and bear hug this woman and turn around and put her down. That's it. You didn't have to slam her like that and knock her out.
I mean, I don't even think he had to do that. There was enough room between them. He could have just stepped in front of her and said, "Well, whoop."
Yeah. Explain the situation here.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, let me just go and throw somebody on the ground like, ooh, she pushing him. Ooh, she's gonna get it. Let me get there.
Let me get there and let me show this guy how to handle this situation.
Yo, I can't
grab her and you toss her ass.
I can't wait to get there so I can overreact.
Yeah, it almost feels like he just came straight from a Steven Seagal training seminar. Like, he's like, ooh, I learned how to throw somebody today. Let's try it. Retro says, I really hope this will have consequences for that, or for the piece of shit cop. I completely agree. It kind of concerns me a little bit right now that they know who did it, and that they won't suspend him. That they are keeping him off of duty, but at the same time, they're not releasing any of the information about this guy. So there it is, the blue wall of silence starting to go up. And I hope that gets broken down real fast. And I really hope somebody watches that and it's like, oh, hey, that's my neighbor, or I know who that cop is, and starts putting his name on blast so the rest of the world knows, hey, this is Officer blah, 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 and they can start attaching his name to this video and start getting his name directly attached to this. So if he's not prosecuted in the criminal court, he can at least continue to get roasted for a good while in the court of common opinion. Because right now all we have is just nameless officer slams nameless woman. I want more. I want to know his name. So if anybody watching this down in Florida has the ability to get this officer's name, stories in the show notes so you have an idea of where this took place. It's Cape Coral, Florida. If you have the ability to go ahead and get that information, by all means, please send that over to us, because we really want this officer's name.
Now, see, this is an excellent segue into our next piece, which is a story by the ACLU of Pennsylvania, and this is an article written by Crystal Craig, Larry Frankel, legislative fellow, ACLU of Pennsylvania. Okay, so two guys. Now, basically, here's the headline. Okay, Pennsylvania, a state of secrecy. Now, pay attention, because Pennsylvania lawmakers are on a path to decimate already delicate police-community relations. House Bill 1538 and Senate Bill 1061 mean to take decision-making power from local leadership, blanket law enforcement in a veil of secrecy, and keep the public ignorant to the actions of those who serve it. Transparency is undeniably vital to any government such as ours that wishes to hold the trust and consent of its people. Yet Pennsylvania is set to veil itself in secrecy in an attempt to shield its law enforcement officers from public accountability. Sad face. In a time when police chiefs, governors, and congressmen across the country are calling to open the practices of police to public scrutiny, Pennsylvania's bills take a tragic leap in the wrong direction. Pennsylvania House Bill 1538 and Senate Bill 1061 would prohibit local leadership from identifying officials involved in use of force incidents against the people. Police chiefs, district attorneys, and mayors would be barred from disclosing such information until the completion of an official investigation. Under this language, the public could be left waiting virtually into perpetuity. If the investigation is prolonged for years, we would not know the names of potentially dangerous officers for years. If the investigation never closes, as some maybe won't want to do, the information could never be released. In other words, There is no limit upon the time under which dissemination may be prohibited. And Senate Bill 1061 goes even further by imposing criminal punishment against local leaders who decide to identify their officers, regardless of whether the disclosure was done for the public good and safety.
Now, this kind of just pisses me off because I think from here on we can kind of just we've got an idea of what the story is. So let's go ahead and talk about it because wow, that basically spits in the face
Actually,
of everything.
I want to get one more paragraph out of this.
By all means.
This next one is pretty good. Okay.
Okay.
But the absence of logic is most troubling. In fact, nothing but baseless assumptions around these bills. Our lawmakers assume that Pennsylvanians are unreasonable and unstable. They imply that Pennsylvanians just cannot be trusted to do the right thing, as if we will only use disclosure for nefarious purposes rather than accountability, healing, and peace of mind. In the eyes of in the eyes of our lawmakers, we can do the right thing when electing them, but we are just too emotionally unstable when seeking truth and justice. They assume this without being able to point to any known instances of officers being targeted after the disclosure of identifying information under Freedom of Information Act right to know request, or at the discretion of local leadership.
Wow, you know what? That honestly sounded like you almost vomited while reading that. Like it was really kind of getting to you. But you know what?
It was a burp. It got stuck right in here, and it was.
And there is a paragraph later, or a couple sentences later, that kind of wrap in something that I really think the writer nailed, which is the lawmakers think that the Pennsylvania community has enough enough of an understanding to be able to vote them into power to make these laws, but then at the same time don't think they have enough of a rational grasp on the world to be able to then turn around and take police and hold them accountable without doing things that, as they said, are nefarious. That just boggles my damn mind. When you have a country right now that you even have the president of the United States standing up in front of the world and going, we have a problem in this country, and I think accountability needs to be top of the line. Every officer should have body cameras. They're doing everything that they possibly can to thwart that. No. This is a bill that, honestly, if passed, goes against everything that, not only does our movement stand for, but everything that, honestly, the government, not the government, but everything that, honestly, the current mindset of the country stands for. People want these people held accountable. When they step out of line, they want to know so it's not just swept under the rug. And Pennsylvania is turning around and going, okay, you know what? Let's just let's just knit this massive ass fucking rug the size of Pennsylvania and just put it right the hell over it, so we don't have to do any sweeping anymore.
Okay,
there's no sweeping involved. It's just the second it happens, nobody's allowed to talk about it. It's like a standing gag order until the whole damn thing's over.
Exactly.
And
it's insane. It really is.
Well, because then it goes around too, and okay, so maybe an officer in Pittsburgh has an incident like the guy outside of Heinz Field where he slams the dude and ends up being eventually let go from the precinct, but it's still under investigation. So the precinct let it go. Now, this stays internal. It doesn't leave the precinct because anybody who speaks about it, puts it in file or anything like that, has the ability to actually be charged. Anybody who speaks about it to anybody else. So they can go to another precinct. They don't have to say shit about it. When they call their former superior, they're legally incapable of speaking about it. So you have a dangerous officer who was fired from their previous location who is now able to go to a different precinct and not have to disclose the fact that they're a violent human being and will step outside of their jurisdiction and do things that they're not supposed to be doing, and it's okay. Like, these people are able to be, I mean, that's putting the public safety at risk all damn day, because now the public has no idea that their local precinct just hired a psychopath who has no freaking problem pulling out his weapon or slamming somebody on the ground and getting away with it. You know, that there's so much wrong with this that it's almost impossible to really wrap it all up in one decent rant. But I tried.
So this is gonna give the police officer opportunity not to identify themselves when you ask for their name and badge numbers, huh?
No, that's not what it is. Okay,
this is like,
let's go back to Allentown last year. Remember what happened with Jim Oakes when he got slammed?
yeah,
Okay, now luckily that was something that was on camera and they can't stop that from spreading.
yeah.
But let's say that incident wasn't caught on camera and there was only Jim's account and eyewitnesses account. So you go, okay, well, I want to know more about this. So you decide you're going to put in a right to know request to learn more about this. It's shut down immediately. Nobody's able to talk about it. The captains aren't able to talk about it. The rest of the precinct isn't. The mayor's not able to talk about it. Nobody in an official seat can say a word about this under penalty of law. So if they even speak on it, they have the ability to be removed from their position and also charged with a crime. So basically, it is taking the blue wall of silence and making it mandatory. And that's a scary thing, because when you have an entity that's able to act without public, without the public knowledge of the things that they do, then you're basically allowing them, you're taking the leash off. You're saying, okay, do what you need to do or do what you want to do, and if we turn around and charge you, well, the whole thing's got to be wrapped up before we even let it out into public knowledge. And
like, my thing is, since when was it the politician's job to protect police from us? Since when was that their design job, to protect the government from its citizens? That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. This is ridiculous.
Well, also, how many cases out there? How many cases out there do you see that go on, and you know that if nobody knew about it, no charges would happen? A lot of times these officers are charged because it's in the public eye and there's public outcry, and the public wants something done. So when the public doesn't know anything about it, because the news sources aren't allowed to be able to get any of the information from any of the officials about it, even, a no comment isn't even allowed basically under this. It would just be I have no idea what you're talking about. Because even to say no comment, it sounds like it would be, almost admitting that the fact that something happened. And to admit to the fact that something happened breaches whatever this law or these two laws that are bills that are trying to go into effect. It really is a mandatory blue wall of silence. That is a direct attack on accountability.
Yep, exactly.
It's disgusting.
It is. It's despicable.
Oh man, it just. Oh.
So before we move on to a new portion of our show that we're gonna start trying out, I want to read some names. I'm gonna wait for the app to load up while it does this, but this is coming from the app Archives Absence. As we've been doing every week, we are reading the names of everybody who has fallen to the hands of police officers. So we're going to start off with Monday, March 7th, 1 week ago. David Chavez, Philip Valito, Byron Rosa, John Charles Graham, Jose Cabrera. I've heard that name before. Daniel Chavez, I'm going to say that that's probably a repeat. Randall Celsor. Tuesday, Jeffrey Casil. Thursday, so nothing on Wednesday. Martin Herudo, Jason Meador, Wesley Shepard, Atriel Porter Jr. Friday, Tyree Privet, Manford Moore. Saturday, Peter Gaines. Now, it hasn't given me anything for Sunday or Monday, but I'm gonna assume I haven't seen in the last year and a half 2 days go by without something. So I'm sure it's just the fact that they haven't updated their system yet. But that's still, I mean, Monday alone, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 names. So that's still 15 people from Monday to Saturday that lost their lives at the hands of police officers. That's
unacceptable.
It is.
Unacceptable.
It is.
It's disgusting. How do we still allow them to get away with this? I mean, why? Okay, now there's a certain politician. Now I'm not going to go into promoting politicians on this because this isn't what it's about. But it has been proposed that every police shooting should be investigated by the Department of Justice. I mean, that's, a federal investigation.
Not the internal affairs, the Department of Justice.
Yeah, take it out because it takes it outside of the department, outside of the jurisdiction, and puts it in the hands of people that, might actually do something. And currently we don't have that system.
No, we have people investigating people that they've been working with for years. So, I think a lot of times, some other results would happen if maybe, now don't get me wrong, police like to say that anybody in IA are ostracized from the rest of the police community, that they're basically considered snitches and stuff like that. And to that I say, bullshit. I really do, because at the end of the day, so many of them will turn around and still be going out to police functions. They're still part of the Fraternal Order of Police, all that. They're still part of the police union. They're still, at the end of the day, they're brothers in blue. So, I don't. Whenever do you have something that ever works out properly when it's investigated by the same thing? I mean, okay, so say me and Scott are going and doing something, and Scott does something. Let's just say him and I are on the job, and he does something, and I turn around, being his friend, go, well, guys, you know what? This does seem like a pretty serious situation, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look into it, and if I find something wrong, I'll get back to you, and then you can run with it. What? I mean, if that happens anywhere else, everybody would be like, well, you know what? That kind of sounds like a broken system. Maybe we should have somebody else look into this and see what comes of it. Now, that's rational thinking.
Yep.
But, it seems like more and more, the longer we do this, it seems like this entire entity that is, law enforcement operates outside of the realm of rational thinking. Although they ask you and assume that you will think rationally in every decision that you do, and if you don't think rationally, they want to hold you accountable for it, but then operate outside of ration themselves.
I mean, law enforcement and the government is basically do as I say, not as I do. I mean, in every sense of them, in every sense of the concept. I mean, don't steal, but I'm going to steal. Taxation is theft, okay? All right?
Yes.
I just, all I want, lay down with me and snuggle and tell me that taxation is theft. That's all I want. Because it is. I mean,
imagine a world without taxes.
It would be an interesting world. I mean, I kind of, I see what you're saying, but I don't 100% agree with that. I mean, I do, but I don't. The whole idea of mandatory taxing is theft. At the end of the day, it is theft. But at the same time too, there's so much that relies on taxes that we have, that our infrastructure would fall apart in a matter of months if it wasn't there. So I understand the reason why we have it, but at the end of the day, it's an evil. It's a don't want to say necessary evil, but I'm gonna have to, for lack of a better term, because without it, there's a lot of things that are gonna crumble. Doesn't mean I agree with it. Doesn't mean that I like it when I open my paycheck and see $140, $160, $200 missing from it for taxes. But once again, another topic for another time.
Yeah, and really quick, Rick, can we clear out the Q&A section?
Yes. How do you?
All right. Yeah, you just go in there and you click on them and you click answered. Now, this next section that we're gonna get into is we're gonna take some user engagements. These could be fans, or these could be people that don't really that don't really agree with what we do. And this week, I had a particularly interesting exchange.
What are words?
With,
word.
Where this is a guy who found his way to my YouTube. I'm not sure how he found, but we'll call him Jay. Okay, we'll call him Jay. Jay sent me a message and he said, "You people are literally the dumbest American citizens in this country. Yeah, some cops are dumb and are in the wrong, but a lot of them are doing their job and are working according to state law. The state has the right for certain things, so if you want to be an idiot, leave this country." Now, first thing, I asked him for some suggestions from, how we would, how he would like to hold police accountability. And I said I would take it into consideration. And I also told him, the state cannot have more rights than the citizens. And I told him to read his Constitution. Because, that's kind of what he implied, that the state had the right to do certain things. And I would not, I don't think the state shouldn't have more rights than the citizen. That's not how the Constitution was written. And, it's kind of perverted at this point. But, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, at the end of the day, it really does kind of seem like he is oversimplifying a situation. He's taking a standpoint that honestly is really hard to defend. I don't know how this man could sit there and defend his standpoint, and I kind of am interested in what your exact response to him was.
Well, this is what I said. Ray, if you have some questions, some suggestions on how to deal with the corrupt police, we would gladly take them into consideration. Also, the state cannot have more rights than the citizen. Read your Constitution.
My bad. Your audio was in and out the first time you were reading that, so that's why I asked for you to re-clarify that. But yeah, it just I don't understand where this comes from, where people want to basically say, if you don't like it, get out. Yeah, I was fucking born here too. The only difference is that I grew up, and when I grew up, I didn't grow up and sit there and thank every lucky star that I was an American. Granted, I feel lucky that I am, but at the end of the day, I don't think that my country is impervious to corruption and things that are wrong with it. I see it every day. If anybody pays attention, you see that there is a growing sickness in this country. And it is the way that our government works without impunity. So, God, that really pisses me off. Oh, if you don't like it, get out. Okay, Trump, that's what you sound like.
Okay. And actually, guys, he's actually watching. I informed him of the show, and he's
Oh,
watching. Now let's get
hi.
further.
Hi. It's really nice to see that you're watching our show. I really like the fact that you have opinions, but this right here is exactly what I think of it. Because it's people like you that are that are making the problems in this country so much fucking worse. When you turn around and you sit there and you go, oh, well, maybe if you just comply, or maybe if you just listen to the fucked up directions that are given to you, or maybe if you're just okay with the fact that you just watched your neighbor get slammed off of the fucking ground, and maybe he should have just listened to what was going on and listened to the stupid shit that was going on from the officers, maybe the problem wouldn't have happened. No. It's people like you that make this problem worse, because instead of holding the people accountable, you sit there and you get on your knees and you say it's okay. You are the problem.
Now let's back up here. Now
Hi, by the way.
Now he goes on to say later that he doesn't completely disagree with what we say, and that he just disagrees with some of our tactics. Now it may have been backpedaling, or it may have been that he initially wanted to say something and didn't think that he would get the response that he did. Now, either way, the conversation progresses. And he said, like I said, I understand that they are the ones that there are ones that are idiots that try to take our guns, but dude, if didn't do anything wrong and they are just doing a road stop, or you get pulled over for something, just comply. Don't be an idiot. Now, just comply.
Yeah, I'm sorry, no, but I know my rights. I know what I can and cannot do, and that's why I don't comply. If I'm given a lawful order and it's because of something that I've done and it actually holds credit and merit, and that's something that I should do, okay, but when it's something that is so off the wall retarded, like 95% of the fucking orders that are given from police officers because they don't understand the law themselves, hell no, I'm not going to comply. I'm going to educate them from top to bottom about what their job actually is, because they need to know their oath and know the law, and 90% of them have no fucking idea what that means. Learn to comply. Why don't you comply with the frickin' Constitution? Why don't you go read your Constitution and actually get an idea of what you can and cannot do, so before you step up and start talking to people and saying stupid, ignorant shit about what they should and should not do in a situation and being completely wrong about it, how about you educate yourself about the way this country actually works, so you yourself don't become a statistic and a victim?
Now, he did post a reply. He said, I understand that I came off the wrong way and said a few dumb things, but why do you have to be non-compliant with every cop? The thing is, I have to be non-compliant with every cop because I'm not required to answer their questions. Why should I comply? I'm not a slave. They're not paying me. They're not compensating me. I'm going to go about my business and do my thing because they're stepping in and putting a stop to my day. I'm traveling down the road. I'm traveling free. I'm not breaking any laws. All my stuff is right, and even if it wasn't, why do they think they can stop me and ask me? And the whole license conversation, that's another thing for another day, because licenses are bullshit.
Yeah, that's illegal from top to bottom. If you knew your Constitution, that would enrage you. The fact that you have to have a permission from your government to exercise your right, just like the Second Amendment, just like having a gun license would enrage you, because that is the government forcing you to pay so you can exercise your given right. Gosh, learn your constitutions.
Yes.
Learn it.
Learn your constitutions.
Learn your rights. I don't want to say things as people like you, but because you know what? I'm sorry I directly attacked you, but at the end of the day, I'm not angry at you. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that there are people out there that don't want to take the time to learn about what they can and cannot do and what is their given right as an American citizen. So instead of taking that time and educating themselves, they would rather lie down to the oppressor that is standing there and trying to trample all over them. Do not let yourself be treaded upon.
Now, see, my reply to him was, why should I comply? What's your articulable logic? And he said, they aren't trying to arrest you. They're simply just being polite and asking for simple information. Why do you have to fight them and seem so ignorant? Why is that so hard? Now, I said, why do you keep using the word ignorant? Do you know what it means? How does the word ignorant apply to anything I did? I believe you are the ignorant one. Simply asking for my information is okay, but demanding it is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Why should I give a stranger that I've never met information with my address on it?
Horrible, horrible feedback. That or somebody's watching TV.
Oh, I think it fixed now. Now, my thing was, now I said it's okay for him to ask. I'm not gonna give it to him, but it's okay for him to ask. But when I say no, I want to be on my way. I don't even really want to stop, to be honest. But fuck, I'll give just that much just to stop asking for more information. No thanks, and then let me be on my way. Like when you start demanding it, no. There's a Fourth Amendment, and I don't give a fuck. And everybody wants to surprise. Well, the Supreme Court said this, and they said that, and they said this. You know what? The Supreme Court had that. No, there's no way that I can read the Fourth Amendment, and nowhere is there a little asterisk that down the bottom it says, unless somebody's drunk, or unless you're going to check to see if somebody has a license. Like, that doesn't exist. It's not there. It's not there. Fuck the Supreme Court on that matter. Like, I'll agree with him in some cases, but fuck the Supreme Court in that matter. That was a fucked up ruling, and I don't give a fuck what anybody says. End.
I have an extreme problem with the Supreme Court in general, just for the sole fact that their job is to sit there and partially uphold, but then at the same time partially degrade the Constitution on a daily basis. This document was written, yes, it was written for the ability for it to change with the growing times, but at no point do I think that our founding fathers sat back and went, when they wrote it and went, yeah, you know what? Let's leave them enough space to completely change what we built this country upon. Let's let them change this country into something that we never intended it to be, because that's what's happened. This country has completely done away with what the founding fathers' morals and ideas were for a great country, and just turned it into a freaking almost like a corporate cesspool where anything goes so long as you're not questioned upon it. And once you are questioned upon it, they just ask that you let it go. Because if you don't let it go, then they come after you. And it's just, fuck, man. Like, I hate the Supreme Court. I really do. There's very few times that they turn around and they do something that I can agree with. And when they do, I'm happy. I'm not happy because of the decision that they made. I'm happy because they finally figured out that they're not there to be a bunch of fucking retarded assholes.
I mean, I totally agree with you. The thing is with this conversation, I think it comes from a place where maybe he hadn't engaged this in this type of cognitive thinking and this, these critical thinking elements before. And when presented with this new information, maybe it might have shifted his thinking. I mean, maybe
I really hope it did.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope Jay, his pseudonym, we're not going to tell you his real name because we're not dicks, and we don't want people to try to contact this guy. So, Jay, we really would like to invite you to go head over to copblock.org because they have a lot of, stuff, and especially they have a page now. I don't know this category, but they have a page called Welcome Cop Suckers. Now, I know you said you wanted to go into the military and you wanted to be an MP. Um, that's what you want to do. Um, I would advise
Don't
against it.
do it.
I would advise against it, but we don't have all the time, in the world tonight. Um, but head over to copblock.org. They have a page called Welcome Cop Suckers, and they also have a page called Welcome Leos. And it actually has a lot of information, a lot of helpful information. And if you're just joining us, we covered many topics tonight. One especially being domestic violence within law enforcement. And if you're not aware, the domestic violence rate is, on average, 4 times more than your average occupation,
Also,
with police officers.
also, if you just joined us, what the fuck? You're like really late. Just throwing that out there.
Well, no, I just gave him the link a minute ago, but
Gotcha. So, anyways, I think we did a good little bit there covering that. Jay, if you want to continue the dialogue that was started with Scott, I do want to say that I'm there as well. When you send those messages, we're both able to respond to it. And if this is something that you really are passionate about and kind of want to get some more information about in a more, instead of us on air
like a
and one-sided
constructive manner.
conversation, yeah, by all means, I think we would have absolutely no problem jumping on a hangout outside of this with you and kind of just having a conversation.
Like a
So,
face-to-face video chat. We do that with anybody that would like. Even trolls. You want to talk to us face-to-face. We have no problem doing that because we stand behind what we say and we believe in it. So I mean, and we only have knowledge and information to give you. And if you don't want it, then that's fine. But if you do, I encourage you to please, reach out to us because that's what we're here for. That's why we start these organizations, is we want to gear people in the direction of, get things, get things started. I mean, and let's see. We actually have a new message. It says,
yeah, just saw
"It
them.
has changed my train of thought. I have a better understanding of what you guys do, but I am in a program with the police department. And there are plenty of cops I do not like because of how they intrude. But when I become one, if I was to confront you and you said no, I would be perfectly fine with that and I would let you go. I get you. Thank you for the better understanding." See, and that is why I do this, because that is by far the best response that I could have read. And I applaud you, and I implore you to read further into this and try to figure out ways that you can be, the good cop, because
Absolutely.
I
there's
got one question for Jay. Are you going to put handcuffs on another police officer that you see or witness committing a felony?
that what Rick had an excellent question, and I could tell Rick's been waiting a minute to ask that question. So
Yeah, so we'll await his response. In the meantime, I want to ask, guys, we've got a little bit more to talk about yet, and our time is running out. Do you care if we go a little bit longer than the usual?
yeah, I can do that.
Cool.
I don't mind.
So we're going to jump into our second comment, which actually comes from a conversation I was having with a friend of mine. I run a group that has absolutely nothing to do with police accountability and things like that, and I have a lot of
Now, if I can just interrupt you for just a second, Jay
Yeah.
has responded. He said, "Oh heck yes," or at least detain them. Now it looks like he's gonna, at least try to, by the authority that he has. So that's good. I hope you use your authority, your powers for good and not evil.
And if that's your mindset, and if that's where you're gonna go with it, and you keep to that, that's how you enter into this field, and you keep that, not just your first 6 months, but 5, 10 years down the line into your career. Then by all means, I applaud you, because I'm never going to have to worry about sitting here one day and reading a story with your name on it,
And
because you're going to be sitting there, and you're going to be out there doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're going to be defending the Constitution. You're going to be protecting the citizens of the United States. You're not going to be treading upon them and going outside of what the law is and destroying the Constitution just to get yourself an arrest, or doing what you think is right. What you think is right should fall in line with the Constitution. And if they counteract each other, I seriously hope that you choose the Constitution every time. Now, I know sometimes that really could be a moral gray area to you, or could be a moment where it's a split decision and it's a hard one to make. But honestly, just in this little bit of a conversation, just to see the fact that you really are wanting to take the time to not only investigate some of the stuff that we've said, but educate yourself, and you have the feelings of the fact that if you saw these things, you would take the officer into custody, lets me know that you are a rational human being, and that you would honestly want to do this job not because you want a power trip, but because you want to help. Man, you want to help your fellow community. You want to help make sure that they're safe. So if that's who you are, not just 6 months into the job, but 10 years down the line, then by all means, I retract my statement of don't do it, and I say, please become the change that we are trying to do from the inside. Be an example for the rest of the people that you will be on the force with. Because if you have one person there who is really trying, putting out the good foot forward and making sure that other people can't tread upon the laws and tread upon the Constitution, and holding them accountable from the inside as well, you are going to be a force to be reckoned with, not just for the fact that you are a police officer, but because you are somebody who knows their Constitution, knows their laws, and will not question holding somebody accountable if they go outside of it, whether they are a civilian or whether they wear that uniform. So please
now,
stay to that mindset, because I really hope that it's serious and it's not just something that you're saying so you aren't continue to be question about your motives. Just
yeah.
please, that I'm
Now,
begging you as one man to another, just keep that in your head.
Now, I wish we had our call-in line working, but unfortunately, that's going to have to be something for next week. I'm just going to read just a couple more of your responses, Jay. So, this next one that I see you type in, make it count. I'm going to read the last one you said. You said, and for me, I'm big on gun control and the rights we have for that. What the police department in my city, what their goal is to prove to the public that we care and what is right. I want to be the change. We want to be the change. And, I applaud you. I would say, go ahead and go to Cop Block, go to Welcome Leo's, go to, go and, go definitely like and go ahead and subscribe to this channel, because we do this every Monday. It's an hour and a half, 9:30 to 11 Eastern. And
we are going to go a little bit long tonight, but
and subscribe to Oath Accountability Project, subscribe to Carbon County Cop Block, and subscribe to Allentown Cop Block, because we all have good content. We all try to be engaging, and we all try to we all try to engage a thought process. And sometimes we let our emotions get a little bit to us, but we we have good intentions, and we really just want to help the world move to a better, more peaceful place. He said, and also I'm a Christian, and I'm going to respect the people's rights and not go past what the authority of God has set in place for me. Thank you for the education. Now, that's good for you. The Christian thing. I hope you respect the rights of others and their religious aspects, and I hope that the Christianity is I hope you're one of the good ones, because as with police officers, you know, there are okay cops, and then there's cops that, you know, that aren't so good, and the same are with Christians. So I hope
With any religion, let's just be straight. With any religion, with
yeah,
anything like that. So
yeah. So I hope the Venn diagram. I hope you're somewhere right there in the middle of the Venn diagram,
I
because
like that your little Venn diagram there.
yeah, I hope you're somewhere right there in the middle, because you know, you'd be a rare one, but a good one. You know, and we featured those officers before, so hopefully one day we can feature you.
In a
So,
positive and praising light.
yep. So now we're gonna move on to Matt's comment
So
or Matt's engagement that he wants to address.
so basically, I was in a I run a group. It has about 3,500 people in it. It has nothing to do with accountability or anything like that. But I've you know picked up quite a few people upon my friends list who have now started to join not only Carbon County Cop Block, but Allentown Cop Block and Oath Accountability Project, because they like to see, some of the stuff that we do. Also, it's just in support of their friend. Well, one of them, I don't know, let's call him Rico. Rico actually has gone and done what Jay has intended to do. He is already in the military. He is an MP, and he intends to when his service is up at the end of the year, he wants to become a state trooper. Now, I wish almost we were able to engage with him as well. And actually, I might be able to pull him into a chat while we're here, because I have him on my friends list. But one of the comments that he said to me after I posted a video, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen it. It's a little bit of an older video, but a guy's on the ground and you have 4 or 5 officers around him. 2 of them are tasing him. One's hitting him with a nightstick, and they're screaming at him to turn on his stomach. And the guy can't, because they continue to hit him. They knocked his teeth out, that kind of stuff. Well, in the course of our conversation about this, one of the things that he said to me that really grinded my gears, and it's not the first time that I've heard a comment like this, was, everything I've seen, read, etc., there are very few cases of actual police brutality. Most videos of brutality are officers doing their jobs or defending themselves. And ones like the one that you showed that are actually brutality are old and most likely from the 60s.
Well, police brutality just didn't happen after
90s, after the 60s. Yeah, that's one of those comments that when somebody says it to you, it's almost like like the light bulb in your brain just stops, and then, everything just looks around like, whoa, it's dark in here. Like, it just grinded to a halt. I had to take a moment, smoke a cigarette, let everything reboot, and go, what? Like, did I just read that? First of all,
did Eric Garner deserve to die over cigarettes rolled like?
Oh, well, I asked him. I said to him, I said, so in the last year or last year, how many people were killed by police officers? And this was the second response that really just made my brain explode. He said, well, the fact that police kill people is irrelevant. It's the circumstances of why. No, wrong. So we have somebody here who wants to become a state trooper, doesn't think that police brutality is something
Don't
that's
cheat on your
real.
test.
Yeah. Yeah. But doesn't think police brutality is real, and any of the videos that he sees is either from 1960 or just a cop defending themselves and then blown up by the media.
I mean, hold on. I just want to say, does it not surprise somebody that our criminal justice system and our prison system are so terribly awful? Like, the conditions and just the whole blanket. The whole thing, it's shit wall to wall. Like the whole system, everything is shit wall to wall. That it is so fucking bad that somebody is willing to risk dying by, saying, "Hey, man, don't fucking try to arrest me. I'm not doing some shit wrong." Like, why can't we stop and say, "Wow, what the fuck is going on?" Like, if you look at how other countries do their prison systems, like uh, I wholeheartedly believe if you want to know the measure of a country, look how it runs its prisons. See how it treats its imprisoned.
Yep.
Like, if you want to know the measure of a man, see how he treats his inferiors, not his equals.
But, it really concerned me because this guy is already in service, which means that he's already, taken an oath as an MP, which means he's already out there as a acting, basically acting police in a sense. So there are already people who are at risk of him, doing his job and not knowing what the hell he's doing. He, I asked him, how many people do you think have been killed or were killed last year? I said, was it 50? Was it 200? Trying to see if he had an idea. No, he said his comment, but then he came back afterward. He goes, well, it's probably around like, maybe one a day, like 350, maybe 360. I told him the number, and he's like, well, that can't be right. He goes, where do you get your news from? So I'm like, well, I got this from The Guardian, who, runs The Counted, which pays attention to this stuff. I said, but I get my news from Countercurrent News. I get it from Cop Block. I get it from RT. I get it from Free Thought Project. I started naming all the places that I get my information from. And he goes, well, what about like Fox News and CNN? And I said,
really?
And I said to him, I said, listen, if I wanted to be lied to, I would just sit there and watch these presidential debates over and over again, because it's about the same thing. If I really wanted a message that has already been doctored and packaged neatly to be the best thing that they can possibly say about a situation, I'll go there. But if I really want to learn about a situation, I'll go to somebody that doesn't have a corporate overhead telling them, well, we can't say that. And then I asked him about the fact, or then he commented about the fact, he goes, well, a lot of this problem really comes down to the fact that you've got all these people who, don't say what the content or context of a video is, and they take it on their cell phones and they put it up online. I said, well, why do you need to know the context of a video? I mean, all you got to do is watch the video and you see the content, and the content gives you the context. It's not like you sit there and at the end of watching somebody or watching this video earlier that we watched where the lady got slammed, come out from it like, man, I should buy a puppy. Like, you know what the video's about when you freaking watch it. So of course
it's not like at the end of the video you go, well, you know what? I think she deserved that, because
yeah.
Like, the police weren't there, so what context do you need? I need the context from when the police show up to what the police do. That is all I need to know, because you know what? You know what context they have most of the time? A few sentences. A few sentences.
Yep. And at the end of the day, the public themselves, we're expected only by the public itself to act a certain way, and when we don't, obviously there does come consequences. But on the other hand, officers are expected to have a higher moral standard whether they're on video or not, because the public in general at times can act like a bunch of fucking idiots. Let's be honest. People do stupid things. But when you put on a uniform and a badge and go out there on the street, you lose that right to be able to act like a jackass. You have to do what your job is. Now at home, unless you're tracking down your ex-wife with your kid in the car and putting 12 bullets in the side and saying, well, it's because she moved somebody in, you're still able to, go out and have a good time and do that stuff. That's not saying that when you can't go home and relax and do that stuff, but when you're on the job, you have a certain standard of which you have to live up to, and when you don't, you're going to get called out on it, and just to sit there and basically say that we shouldn't have the ability to really make comments on this because we don't know the prior context of what the civilians were doing, that, my friend, means jack shit. So long as, now granted, if they roll up to a situation and they've got somebody on the ground, one dude has another dude on the ground, on his knees, hands behind his head, gun to the back of his head, yeah, you know what? I can expect some officers to get out of the car and act accordingly. But if you've got two people arguing in a freaking in a parking lot and they just walk up and scoop slammer, like, they're expecting to, once she hits the ground, pin her for a 3 count and win the championship, like, that's wrong. So, there's that. Well, we went further on into our conversation, and he's like, well, if I had, my way, and what I do is when I see somebody recording, I come up and I take the camera because they shouldn't be recording. And now, out of all of these comments, that's the one that completely gave me a meltdown. This was a conversation I had only intended to have for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and this turned into a 4.5-hour conversation because at this point I knew either he had no idea what the Constitution was that he was supposed to be defending, he was trained like shit, or just didn't care, and I honestly wanted to find out what it was. So, over the course of our conversation, it came down to finding out that just his training was so horrendous that he was led to believe that there was absolutely nothing wrong with taking the phones or taking video recording devices out of the public's hands. I told him, I'm like, do you understand that that's a First Amendment violation, that you could be hit with thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of lawsuits every time that you do that? And he's like, oh, well, that doesn't happen. And I just flooded him with cases after cases after cases, ACLU posts, just going in on him about how fucking wrong he was. And by the end of our conversation, he was like, okay, well, I really kind of need to have more conversations with you because I really feel like you know a lot of what you're talking about, and you're sending me stuff to back it up. You're just not giving me opinions. You're giving me facts. You're giving me the ability to ask you, or you're asking me questions. You're giving me the ability to answer it, and if I'm right, you'll admit it. If I'm wrong, you definitely explain why I'm wrong, and not in an emotional response, but in a rational, fact-driven response. And by the end of our conversation, he did actually, thank me for the fact that, I could be, just that piece of information alone could be saving him from thousands upon thousands of dollars of lawsuits. But what I said to him after he thanked me was, I'm not doing this because I want, I want gratitude or because I want to save you from a lawsuit. I'm doing this because you took an oath and somebody forgot to teach you what that oath meant. So if they didn't do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to teach you what you don't know, and that is the oath and the law of what you swore to uphold. And I was talking to him yesterday because he had a question about the fact of if, he's able to turn off the fucking somebody's dash cam. And I was like, fuck no, you can't touch their equipment. I said, unless it is directly involved inside of a crime, you can't touch their equipment. And if you do, you are fucking with the First Amendment. I said, you just need to learn that. Stop touching people's equipment. If it's a phone and you have to arrest them, okay. At that point, you can take the phone, put it in a bag, and let the battery run itself down. Don't turn it off. Don't do none of that shit. Just put it in a bag, let the battery run the fuck down. Stop doing that, because at one point you're going to make the fatal mistake where you're going to pick the phone up like this and you're going to be right on camera and turn it around and turn it off, and you're going to get tacked to the fucking wall. I said, if you're with somebody and they go to do that, warn them. Make sure on camera you say, don't turn that phone off, because at least you're giving yourself the ability to say, you did not agree with that situation. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna look into that and make sure that what you're saying is right. Now I'm waiting on his response to actually come back and tell me, like, damn, I don't know why we weren't taught this, but it was just one of those conversations that started off really innocently and then just got really, really deep, because this guy was just trained horrendously, and then turns around and wants to take the training of which he received by the U.S. military, and then take that into the private, or into the state sector, and become a state trooper, where they're going to retrain him, but who says that they're going to give him proper training when, like you said earlier, Rick, they cheat. Especially in Pennsylvania, we just had how many cadets just kicked out of the training program because they cheat. They don't even know what our state troopers have no idea what the fuck is going on. They just wing it on a daily basis. So it kind of concerns me that, not only in our military do we have training that's just not even subpar, it's just sounds like it's damn near non-existent. It's like, oh, we want to be an officer? Cool. Read this book, put on this little arm badge, here's a nightstick, here's a baton. If you don't like what you see, make it stop.
All right, well, Rick, did you have a particular comment or something that's reoccurring that you wanna?
Well, just recent comment from one of our protests last year out here in Hamilton. He goes, the cops were real cool. The protesters was a jerk, purposely provoking the officers, trying to pick a fight. I don't see where you see in that video we were doing that. It's just like, wow. They watch a situation and this is what they say. That nothing what he's saying actually really happened. Officers approached us, said we needed a permit for a megaphone, where we were knowledge enough to know that we clearly didn't need a permit for a megaphone, because
we had the law sitting on us.
Yeah, we had the law, the papers of the law right there. Like, they should have known this law, and all we did was trying to educate them on the law. You're wrong, we're right. Go back and check your ordinance, because they obviously didn't know the noise ordinance. So
no, and they were once again taken off guard when they walked up and they thought they were giving us a lawful order, and Scott was like, well, actually, let me tell you, you're not. Why don't you read this right here and tell me where in your ordinance does it say that we, as protesters, do not need or have to have a permit to be able to use a megaphone? And they couldn't find it. They tried any which way possible to tell us that we needed one, all the way down to the fact that they had, wasn't that the lieutenant they showed up?
Yeah, Lieutenant Weedman.
Yeah, Weedman.
Weedman. Oh, that's so great.
Shows up, and once he does, kind of is just like, all right, guys, why don't we shut this down? Get us, not us, but shut themselves down. Just like, you guys do you, don't get too loud. Now let's just get the fuck out of here. And once they got out of there, they left us alone, like completely alone. The only other time that they actually interacted with us at all was some drunk just randomly decides that what we're doing is angering him, and basically comes up to try to attack one of the people that we were there with. Now, even in that situation, they messed up, because they saw the whole thing happen and were just like, dude, go about your business, go away. So, it was one of those things that they kind of turned around and went, oh, well, you guys don't like us? Okay, cool. Well, we're going to stop a situation from happening, but we're actually not going to do our jobs and make sure it doesn't continue to happen.
Yeah, we're gonna use our discretion to say fuck you, and we're gonna watch you on the traffic camera all day. All day we're gonna watch you.
And we're going to actually go ahead and we're going to have the city not turn on the street lamps of which you're sitting under. All the other street lamps will be on, but not yours, up until you leave. Once you leave, yeah, we're going to illuminate that area, which is exactly what happened. They left those lights off the entire time we were there. Once we left, lights came on.
I asked one of the bike cops why the lights wasn't on. His reason was because we're blocking the sensor from the light from all the signs we have. So basically, he's blaming us for the light
we're
not
making
coming
the
on.
sensor too dark for the light to come on. What?
Yeah. Like, wait a second. So these marble statues, or this, I don't know if it's exactly marble, but let's just say somewhere between marble and concrete statue limestone have the freaking sensors built directly into them. I don't know. We were all over that shit. I didn't see him once.
And if we're covering up sensors, would that make them darker to make the lights come on?
Yeah, you would think that they'd have been on all day in that sense. But then again, though, that's rational thinking. Not something that they're real good at there at APD. So
I think that's our show.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. One thing I want to do is tell you a little bit about a couple things. I want you to go ahead and go to either your App Store or your Play Store. Get a hold of Cell 411. Download that. If you're ever out there cop blocking, you can let your friends know. You can let your network know. You can record live. You can live stream. It's a lifesaver. Also, you should go, and if you want to stay in touch with everything that's going on with police shootings, download Absence Archives. It'll be your one-stop source of information about when that happens. Also would like you to go to copblock.org/store for all your cop blocking needs, whether you want hats, shirts, beanies, or a little badge that says badges don't grant extra rights. You can get that there too. Also, after that, I would like you to, I know I'm asking a lot of you, but if you could go over to Allentown Cop Block, not only on Facebook and YouTube, and give it a like. That is the home of our good friend Rick Gonzalez.
Yeah, Rick.
He's out there in Allentown, Pennsylvania, doing the good work and fighting the good fight. And once you're done with that, I want you to then go ahead, go up to that little taskbar, and I want you to search Oath Accountability Project. That's the home of our good friend here, Scott Marshall. He is not only on Facebook, but he is on YouTube as well.
Now, I'm going to ask you guys of two things. Now, I'm going to ask that you go to Carbon County Cop Block on their Facebook and their YouTube and you like them. And then I'm going to ask you to tune in on Wednesday nights to Cop Block Radio. You can see that at copblock.org/show or lrn.fm. Now, that show is full of all kinds of fun stuff, and that's a hell of a show. So go ahead and check them out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap up the show, guys. So, good night, you guys.
Good night, guys.